Greetings, mathematicians. This is slope video number dos. In our first video, we talked about what the idea of slope is, and we looked at having slope that we say is positive because it rises from left to right, and slope that we say is negative because it drops from left to right, and defining it as the rise over the run, that is the change in the y values over the change in the x values. So in each case, we're building a fraction to tell us what the slope is. The slope, with the cool letter M, because mathematicians can't spell, looks like that. Today I want to look at what do you do when you're just given a couple of points. So we don't know what the line looks like. We can't see a picture of it. Of course, we could plot the points and draw the line. But there might be a faster way. Given a couple of points, can we still find the slope? And the answer to that, of course, is yes. Keeping in mind that idea that our slope m is equal to the change in the y values over the change in the x values. You remember the symbol delta, that triangle means change. We're going to write a cool formula. Now, don't panic. It looks complex, but it's not very complex, and I'm going to explain it all to you in just a moment. But we're going to start off and say that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, hopefully you're going, what's x1 and y1 and all those cool things? And that's a good question to ask. Suppose that I picked a point and called it point 1. Then I could designate from point 1 the x value as being x1 and the y value as being y1. All right? And I could pick a second point and call it point 2, in which case I could call its x value x2 and its y value y2. All right? So, back to our formula. All we're going to do here is we're going to plug in whatever y value comes from point 2 into that first slot called y2, and whatever y value comes from point 1, and plug that in to our formula in the y1 spot. That's going to help us find the change or the difference in the y values. And then I'm going to come back down and choose the x2, or the x value from point 2, and plug that in for x2, and look at the x value from point 1 and plug that into the x1 value in our formula. It'll make more sense in a moment. Bear with me. Suppose that we go back to our problem over here where we're given 2 points and we're asked to find the slope. The first point is 2, 1. I'm going to call that point point 1, and I'm going to write down the values 2, 1. That's what was given to us. Go back and look at the second point that's given to us. I'm going to call that point 2, and notice its values are 5, 3. So for point 2, the values are 5, 3. Now notice x1 in this case is 2 because it's the x value for point 1. y1 is 1 because it's the y value for point 1. 5 represents x2 since it's the x value for point 2. And 3 represents y2 since it's the y value for point 2. Okay? Here we go. We have our formula that says we're going to take y2 minus y1. So remember, y2, the y value for point 2, was 3. So I'm building my fraction, my slope fraction. The y2 value was 3. The y1 value is 1, since that's the y value for point 1. So I'm going to say 3 minus 1. Now I come back to build my fraction and look at the difference of the x values, starting with the x value from point 2, which is 5, and subtracting from that the x value from point 1, which was 2. Okay? So what we're doing is using our slope formula and filling in for our y's and our x's. Okay? Let's do the arithmetic. 3 minus 1. Well, 3 minus 1 is 2. And 5 minus 2. That's 3. So our slope, without having even to look at the line, is 2/3. Okay? All right. We're going to continue to use this slope formula, but now I'm going to do it with some trickier numbers. Look over here. This problem has some negative values. That looks challenging. Let's hide the negative values. Point 1, for this case, is 1, -4. That's the first value that it gives us, so I'm going to call that point 1. Point 2, it gives us as 6, -2. So I'm going to write that down. Point 2 is 6, -2. Okay? I know my slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, I'm going to tell you this because it's important. Slope is used a lot, okay? Slope is going to be used for years to come. So the faster you learn this formula and understand how to plug the points in, the better you're going to do in math. Okay? There's certain things in a math classroom that you have to know, and the way to calculate slope is just one of those things. It's really important. So you want to be able to do that whenever necessary. This is something you'll want to memorize and keep with you because you're going to use it again and again and again and again. So, important thing. Memorize it. Say it to yourself 100 times if necessary. But make sure you understand how to use this equation because you're going to use it a lot. Okay? It's probably the most important equation for a beginning algebra class. And then is used a lot later on. It's just assumed that you know this. It's like 2 plus 2. You have to know it. Okay, so knowing that our slope equation is this, we're going to go fill in the blanks. y2 is, which of these numbers? That's right, it's -2 because it's the y value for the second point. So I'm going to write in here -2, and I'm going to subtract from that this number, the y value from the first point. I'm going to subtract from that a -4. Now I'm writing mine with parentheses in there because I want to show that this is the same as this. y2 was -2, y1 is -4, and I'm subtracting. Okay? Let's go back and do our x's now. x2 value is, yep, hopefully you said 6. So we're going to write 6, and I'm going to subtract from that because it says subtraction, the x value from the first point, which was 1. Now, we can do our arithmetic. If you're having trouble with your signed numbers, with your integers, Make sure that you're using your calculator and entering it the way that I'm showing here, because your calculator can do the math and do the arithmetic for you, but you have to know how to use your calculator. When you subtract a negative number, it's really like adding it. Okay, remember our subtraction rules. Says subtraction is addition of the opposite. So if I add the opposite of negative 4, I'm adding 4. Negative 2 plus 4 is just 2. And then on the bottom we have 6 minus 1. That's going to give us 5. And so our slope for this problem is 2/5. Okay? Now, I don't want you to get too lost in the arithmetic piece of this. The real star of this show, of this video, and for some time in class, is going to be slope right here. Make sure you understand how to find your slope using the slope formula. It's an important thing that you'll need to know. Also, it's an important thing to be able to read the slope from a graph. Remember what we did last video. Count the change in y, count the change in x, make yourself a fraction. The fraction is your slope. Slope is rise over run. The change in y over the change in x. It is the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. Important stuff here, guys. Make sure you get this down. Work on plenty of practice problems. Good luck to you, and I'll see you next video.